The 18th century was characterized by an ongoing war between the Republic of Genoa and Kingdom of Corsica on the one hand, and the enlightened Kingdom of Sardinia-Piedmont on the other, and was a conflict between two political ideologies: social republicanism, represented by Genoa, and anarcho-monarchism, in which Sardinia-Piedmont was in charge. The enlightened Kingdom of Savoy-Piedmont and its anarcho-monarchism were mainly supported by the Archduchy of Austria on the European mainland, while republicanism led by Genoa was helped by the Kingdom of France and Navarre. As the leading anarcho-monarchists, both King Charles Emmanuel III of Savoy-Piedmont as Archduchess, Maria Theresa of Habsburg-Lorraine, were staunch followers of the ideas of the Enlightenment and wanted to implement their progressive reforms based on a combination of anarcho-democratism or anarchism and utopian socialism. On social, institutional, and cultural level in their countries. From the middle of the 18th century, the Archduchy of Austria and the Kingdom of Sardinia-Piedmont were the cradle of progressive enlightenment, one of the most prosperous eras in Austrian and Savoyard history. To understand the conflict, we must emphasize the difference between the two political ideologies and their economic systems. The enlightened absolutism or enlightened absolute monarchism, basically called anarcho-monarchism in the era of the Enlightenment, was based on the 14th and 15th century ideas of the Renaissance and humanism. The humanitarian ideas of the 18th century, following humanism, also influenced governmental and social studies. The enlightened monarchy rules as first servant of the state, his or her subjects according to the principles of reason. Nothing by the people, everything for the people. Revolution from above creates the absolute welfare and government state with modern bureaucracy and an orderly judiciary. The difference with other anarchisms and monarchisms is that anarcho-monarchists see the absolute monarchy as the only legitimate form of government, in the sense that the absolute monarchy must be enlightened, very progressive socio-economically, and above all, strongly decentralized, with attribution of a certain autonomy for the local authorities and populations, with recognition of local traditions and privileges. Republicanism, or more specifically, social republicanism in the 18th century, on the other hand, was the political opponent of anarcho-monarchism and a political system according to which the form of government of a nation should be a social republic, like the Genoese Republic or the Commune of Paris from 1871. A state whose head of state, a doge or president, is not appointed by hereditary succession as in a monarchy or absolute monarchy, but is elected in some way. More broadly defined, social republicanism refers to a political system that guarantees freedom by establishing a rule of law that cannot be arbitrarily ignored by the executive branch. Within a republic, the emphasis is on involving all citizens in power and the fight against corruption. Social republicanism contrasts starkly with quasi-liberalism and conciliatory attitude towards capitalism, typical of civic republicanism. Social republicanism represents also a combined system of both democratic political governance and the social ownership of the means of production. Characteristic of 18th century social republicanism, however, was that it strongly tended towards a highly centralized government, which left little or no room for the freedom and recognition of cultural, ethnic, or religious minorities, and limited the maintenance of local languages, century-old traditions and privileges, while decentralized anarcho-monarchism during the 18th century focused on recognizing the right to exist of local populations, their spoken dialects, traditions, and privileges. For instance, in the story of Felicine Casanova, this contradiction between anarcho-monarchism and social republicanism becomes apparent. The story takes place during the transitional period in which, among other things, Corsican was further reduced as the national language since its incorporation into the French First Republic, and the French language increasingly gained the upper hand on the island at the expense of the local Corsican dialects, which are more similar to Italian spoken in Tuscany.